Bismillah, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the Barakah Blueprint podcast. And before I continue, there's something I've been practicing for 7 years. Sometimes in front of the mirror, and sometimes just, when I have these intrusive thoughts, and I just have to. And welcome to Freshly Grounded, a brand new podcast. And why? Because we're in the Freshly Grounded studio with none other than our brother Faisal Chowdhury, the man behind the Freshly Grounded. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Alaikum salam, marhaba, welcome.
Hayyak
I
Allah.
appreciate you coming down, man.
Thank you so much for, wanting to do this, and thank you for being so hospitable. Thank you for welcoming us to the Freshly Grounded studio. I have so many questions. Like, this is, in my head right now, what I'm thinking is like, I'm like, okay, so I have been like, I've been doing this podcasting for some time,
Yeah.
mostly on and off. Like, I've done a 2018 only audio, and then like I've stopped for a very long time, various excuses. And this entire time, like, I've been listening to the Freshly Grounded, like, I think and I pray and I hope there's gonna be a moment where there's gonna be a podcasting moment, and there's Freshly Grounded there, and oh my goodness, I'm gonna get a review, folks. I'm gonna get a review. This is gonna be very, very interesting. Okay, cool. Okay, Brahim, focus. I've told
Well,
myself.
excited to have you, man. Honestly, it's lovely, and we've obviously played some paddle together and stuff
Yes, we have.
that. So it's lovely to finally be able to do a podcast, man.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking forward to this, subhanAllah. And, something that I have started to ask my guests recently in the very beginning, and usually this sets the tone for how the conversation flows. And especially it relates to the goal that I have with the Barakah Blueprint. The goal that I have mainly is, it's a selfish reason, Faisal, if I'm going to be very honest with you. I want to learn. I want to maximize what I learn from people. I'm doing this for myself, if I'm going to be very honest. This is my school. This is my one access to lessons that I can learn from people and lessons that I can give from my mistakes to people. Usually that comes from stories. We love stories as people. So I guess I'm going to ask you the first question. Could you tell us a story, a moment that, be it if it has significant importance to you in your journey where you're at today, or something that has taught you an important lesson, or whatever you deem worthy and relevant to share with the audience?
I have so many stories. I'm trying to like filter through them now to have a think about them. One story that comes to mind instantly, I don't know if it's the best story, but it's like I can only pick from like what instantly comes to mind, right? And I think it's what I learned about the importance of taking action and the importance of, you could say, hard work, but more than hard work, like action, and the fact that you're I don't know how to say this in a in a way that's like Islamically also acceptable, but the idea that your fate is in your hands, not your actual fate. Obviously, we believe in the qadr of Allah,
No.
but as in you can take action and you can take control of situations. You have perhaps responsibility is a better word than fate. And the
Sure.
story that comes to mind for me is, so my dad's been a businessman all his life, and so we've grown up around my dad being in business, always working for himself, and he's had various businesses. And so naturally, anybody here who is listening who is also an entrepreneur knows that there's ups and downs, right? So sometimes you have real successes, and then sometimes you have tough times. And so we've grown up seeing that. We've seen great times, and we've seen really rough times. And throughout all of it, what I've noticed is that my dad is an action taker, and that's what I've really taken from him. And there's one thing that I remember really clearly, which was one evening, my dad, was due to have us, and we went out as kids with him, and we went for a lovely meal and all of these things. And at the time, he was running a business and it was kind of like one of the like tougher times where he was like kind of getting a new business set up, and his business, one of the things that it required was the delivery of tickets.
Okay.
And generally, most businesses, if they're doing this on a big scale, and his competitors, obviously they've got like teams of people. You know, this is like we were younger, so it's not like how now. I don't know. There's like, it's as easy to get like courier services and stuff.
Sure.
And they were like time sensitive. You couldn't send them with Royal Mail and things like that. And so I just remember being with my dad, and he took us for dinner, and then him driving around London to different hotels, hand delivering as the CEO of the business, hand delivering these tickets to the reception desks of hotels for like the people who are staying in the hotels,
Allahu Akbar.
for like his customers. And I don't know why that came to mind straight away as a story, because it's not the most fascinating story, but it reminded me. I remember seeing that. I remember waiting in the car while he just runs into the lobby and comes back out. And I just remember thinking to myself, he is the guy who owns this business, is running this business, but he's also taking action. He's not expecting, or he's not waiting around for the perfect opportunity to get the perfect deal with a perfect courier company or something. He's not stopping his business from happening. And he's always been such a hard worker. He's always said, okay, what can I do with the ingredients that I have? And he's taken action. And that, I think, taught me the importance of taking action yourself. And I think that's a really important lesson. Action is really, really important. Hard work is important. But, you know, if there's one word, then it's action, that I think is like probably like the single ingredient that makes a difference between success and failure.
SubhanAllah, you know, for me, that story, it makes perfect sense that you brought it up. The reason why, like, I'll tell you what, like, as an outsider looking in, right? This makes perfect sense to me now, how Freshly Grounded feels like a family. Honestly.
Okay.
Like, you're so in touch with, like, you're very, you know, transparent with your audience. You make your audience feel like at home, that they're part of this community, this tribe.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense to me, subhanAllah, that this is the influence that you had. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your parents, ya Rab.
I mean,
And one thing I am very, very inspired by is, you know, what explains or what defines the success of a story and what makes it a success story. Now, I guess the question is then, I would want to ask you, take me to the bridge from this lesson to the Freshly Grounded. So, what did that translate to when Freshly Grounded started, this particular lesson?
I think probably from that story, what I take actually all the time in Freshly Grounded is it's kind of like the importance of not giving up, because a person could give up if they felt like, oh, we haven't got the perfect, you know, courier partnership, or we haven't got the perfect distribution yet, or we haven't got the perfect equipment, or we don't have the perfect studio. You know, we had a Freshly Grounded studio, and then for the last 3 years, Freshly Grounded I've been recording it from my bedroom, right? And I think like me recording Freshly Grounded from my bedroom is the equivalent of my dad delivering tickets himself.
110%.
Well, you can either give up and say, we don't have the perfect studio, or I don't have the perfect way to get these tickets delivered. Or you can say, you know what, I'm going to make do with what I've got a car. And okay, fine. Like and you know, even in that story, it's like my dad's priority has always been his kids, right? And so he would not sacrifice one for the other. I mean, there's many times he has sacrificed business for kids, but as in he wouldn't sacrifice his time with his kids for his business. But he's been able to make it work, right? It's like, okay, like, we'll take the kids out, and then we'll do a nice drive around central London, see London, and then like kind of almost like a tour of London, but just drop the tickets off in the meantime. So yeah, I think like it taught me the importance of like making do with the resources that you have.
Allahumma barak. No, Allahumma barak. It's
I think what you're going to find in this episode is that pretty much most of the questions that you ask me, the answers in some way are going to be related to my parents, because actually,
makes sense.
Yeah, all of the good that I have, you know, if any, after Allah is from my parents, both of them, my mom and my dad, and they've taught me important lessons in life.
You know, I definitely want to touch on that as well, because I think what I don't see as often today in the Muslim content creation sphere is the concentration or the focus on righteous upbringing, and especially how that impacts the man and the brand that people are seeing today.
Sure.
And Allahumma barik, it's something that I have seen a lot from yourself and your brother, Umar. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the both of you, ya Rabb, and your families. And of course, it makes perfect sense that you translate these values, or you use them as fuel that drives you to your goals, sub goals, main goals. It makes sense, subhanallah. And of course, it makes perfect sense that you're attributing this to the very same team that installed those values. Of course.
Yeah.
ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. This is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and virtues that He gives to whomever He pleases. Many people aren't that lucky, and it's very important to recognize that. And just like we earlier said, subhanAllah, the hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, أو كما قال من لم يشكر الناس لم يشكر الله. Whoever doesn't thank the people has not thanked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What better way is there to thank your parents than to mention your parents and to mention the virtues that they came with? Akid. 110%. I fully agree with you. I think you should. I think you should do that much more, as a matter of fact. I think we all should do that much more. Like, I mean, one thing that, and like, Ibrahim doesn't sit with much, but Ibrahim should also be humble and honest. And that is the fact that the one thing that has served me well in life, there's one thing, only one thing that has served me well in life, Quran. The fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed me to memorize Quran.
And you got that from your mom, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My mom was my teacher. My dad was my repetition partner. This is the one thing that I should be talking about. Bro, every single thing, like graphic design, branding, project management, breaking into corporate, pretending to know certain skills to land certain roles. Like all of this, this entire skill set comes from your relationship with Quran.
So.
And all of that was installed in childhood from my parents.
Of course.
It's honestly, Habibi, all of the topics like project management, I shouldn't even talk about any of this. I should be talking about the importance of having a friendship with the Quran and to appreciate your parents. Sarah, this should technically be the thing that we should be talking about. So, Habibi, just go with it. Seriously, if every single answer that you have is that, wallahi, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
Sarah, because at the end of the day, like I told you, the most important thing with the time that I spend with the podcast is honestly, I want to take the lesson for myself. And I think, wallahu ta'ala a'lam, I think this can definitely benefit at least one person watching this. Yes, I don't have the highest engagement if I'm going to be very, very honest with you. But you know what? The fact that one person can implement this wisdom and take a life-changing step, that in itself is a huge win. Because we don't talk about sadaqah jariyah often. Allahumma barik what sadaqah jariyah your parents have done. Allahumma barik what sadaqah jariyah many parents have done.
Of course.
And many parents are trying to do.
Yes, of course.
Children, the people they bring up, the future adults, you know, these that wanted to be firemen and policemen, and I still remember the costumes that we would want to have, you know, like these future adults, future project. I didn't want to be a project manager or graphic designer when I was a kid, at least. I wanted to be a football player.
Sure.
I don't know about you. That sadaqah jariyah is something that should always be talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Now, as a tangible person, you know, for me, that also has, you know, passion about podcasting. I mean, duh, this guy is a chatterbox. Come on. There's one thing that I've always wanted to ask. Can you take me to the moment Freshly Grounded started? Just like, let us live that moment.
Yeah. So I was sat on the dining table in my mum's house, and I was gonna get married, I think like in about 2 or 3 months' time. And so I had met my wife, and it was like September time, and my nikah was due for December, and I was saving up for my wedding, and then I just was so passionate about the idea. So like the thing that prefaces all of this is like the context, right? So it's like when I had the thought and like what I wanted to do, but this is like the moment you asked about for the moment, right?
Yes, sir.
And so the moment was then I just was sat on the dining table and I went onto Amazon and I just added 2 microphones to the cart and the boom arms and I think like whatever I needed. It was the audio interface at the time was a Tascam. I don't even know if Tascam still even exists, like because now there's like Rhodes and Blackmagic and all these different brands. I've not seen Tascam in a while, but Tascam is what they used to use in TV back in the day.
Is it like a capture card of some
It was
sort?
just like an audio interface.
Oh,
So it's
okay,
where
sure,
you'd
fair
plug the
enough.
XLR mics into. And so I ordered a Tascam and added this all to cart and it came up to about £700. And for me, £700, especially like I was 21 years old.
Dude.
And about to go into marriage at 21, knowing that I have got a lot to save for, not only in marriage, but like the actual wedding itself.
Yeah, of course.
But man, I just believed in the idea so much. And I was like, before I clicked purchase, I said to my mum, no, I purchased it, sorry. Then I went upstairs and I said to my mum, I've either just made a decision that I'm going to really regret or it's going to be the start of like, whatever I said, like the most, like the biggest project I've done or the most important thing. And I've taken action on something that could be like life-changing essentially. And it ended up being the latter. I don't even know what made me say that because I don't often do something. I don't often like buy something and then like make a profound statement. But for some reason, I made a profound statement. I was like, like you hear about these like in the movies, like or whatever. But if I'm like anything else that's like affected my life massively,
I've taken a life-changing decision.
Yeah, I don't remember saying something profound, but I said something profound. Like I remember going upstairs and saying to my mum, I've either done the worst thing I've ever done by spending £700 when at a time I really can't afford to do that, or I've made the best decision ever.
So this is going to be the first scene of the Freshly Grounded movie, by the way.
Yeah,
good. Fantastic.
And so then that was it, man. And the microphones arrived, the Tascam arrived, and I already had a little GoPro. So the episodes were shot on a GoPro with, because I thought like, if we're doing a podcast, the audio can't be, you can't negotiate on good audio. But it's okay if the quality of the camera isn't great. And so we used the GoPro for the camera.
Yeah, sure.
Video wasn't great, but the audio was crisp from day one. And yeah, the XLRs and everything was self-taught, man. And I would record the episodes. At that time, it was called The Next Phase, the podcast. So it started in September 2016. And it was called The Next Phase because my name is Faisal. And it's like, the idea was freshly grounded. So it was like helping it was for a community of people who are going into the next phase of their life, which was essentially from Jahiliyyah to practicing Islam. And
wow, okay.
Yeah, and then that was a play on words because my name was, people would call me Faiz as like a nickname. And so it was like the next phase. And so yeah, the first episode of the next phase I think was with Omar, my brother. And it was shot in my bedroom, which was like the first like, I think like 10, 15 episodes were shot there.
Allahu Akbar.
With a GoPro, 2 mics and... That's it. Just told everyone.
And a Tascam somewhere.
Yeah. Tascam on the table, and that's it. And then eventually, I was able to move it. My brother very generously, as he's always been his whole life, allowed me to have some studio space in. At the time, he was running a marketing agency.
Yeah.
And then he needed another studio because they needed somewhere for everyone to work, but then they needed another studio for production. And so he allowed me to have like half of the production studio as a permanent freshly grounded set. So I was like,
Allah bless him, ya Rab.
I mean,
what made you believe in the idea? What made it so outstanding?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like all of us, I think this is something that everybody can relate to, right? So take me away from this for a minute.
Sure.
I think we all have ideas that we're really passionate about,
yes.
that we have like this innate thing where we're like, I need to follow this idea.
Uh-huh.
And I think 90% of the time we don't do anything about it.
Uh-huh.
And I've always wanted to challenge that narrative because around me growing up, I've seen that narrative be challenged. I've seen my mum go to university at 30, as a mature student. I've seen my dad start a business business do well, then it like slows down, start another business. Like he's just constantly following what he believes is the right thing. My mum following what she believes is the right thing. And then I've seen it, you know, with my siblings, my brother, you know, who I've spent, you know, my whole life being, you know, his shadow. I've seen him have a curiosity and then follow it. And so it's been around me. And so I don't want to be the person who has an idea, who's so passionate about it. I mean, I do my, you know, my checks and balances, I guess, to an extent. We really like a weak version of it. It's like, oh, does it feel right? Yeah. Yeah, I think like we don't do that enough. We don't do enough of. I'm passionate about this idea. I think it's going to work. I think it has a mission. I believe in it. And then follow it, chase it. And then, you know what? People don't really remember your failures much. I've had way more failures than I've had successes. But we get caught up on the idea that if it fails, that people are going to remember or people are going to think things. But they don't. People don't remember these things. They're busy with their own lives. Mm-hmm. So that was like that's the reason, if you want to look at it from a generic perspective. From a more zoomed in perspective and like a subjective perspective, what I thought was I was at the time 20-year-old kid really traveling in to central London on a daily on my commute, and I had just become like passionate about Islam, and so I didn't want to listen to music anymore. On my I had a 1 hour commute on the tube on the underground.
Yeah.
I didn't want to listen to music, and I didn't want to listen to nasheeds. The reason I didn't want to listen to nasheeds is because they felt too close to music for me at the time.
Fair enough.
And then I wasn't ready for Quran because I couldn't even read Alif Ba Ta. I didn't know anything about Quran. And so I wasn't ready for it. I didn't know what I was listening to. And so then, I mean, I did listen to Quran in bits, but I wasn't ready for a 1 hour like solid session at the time.
I understand. I get it.
So I would listen to podcasts. I discovered podcasts, and at the time, podcasts were just like BBC Sport or like MMA podcasts. There was no such thing as, you know, entertainment podcasts, right? And so at the time, I had this thought. I was like, well, what? And I was also going through a shift in my life where I didn't really feel like I had many friends because I didn't feel like many people who related to me in terms of what I was now passionate about. And I thought, at the time, I thought people who were practicing Muslims were either all boring or old. And I didn't want to be friends with old people. And I didn't want to be friends with boring people. So I was like, well, I didn't know what to do. And so I was like, maybe there's other people like me in the world who like think that they're cool, but are passionate about Islam. And so I was like, maybe this thing that I listen to every day in my commute, maybe I can create something like this, but not about sport, but just about like my experiences, and hopefully maybe other people will relate. And so that's why I started it from a granular perspective.
What was the oh snap, this is becoming something moment?
For me, like, alhamdulillah, it was instant, because if it wasn't, Allah knows me, right? I'm such a 0 to 1 guy. I'm not 1 to 100. And so that's why I feel like I actually left Tortilla at such a great point as well, you know, going off on a tangent, because like, you know, I came in as the head of marketing, the first marketing hire, the first non-technical hire. And it was such an exciting project because it was, when I came in, it was very 0 to 1. It was like the product was great. They had built this amazing product and they'd done a lot of the 0 to 1, but from a marketing perspective, it was at 0. And the 0 to 1 is the most fun phase for me. And so kind of, when I was 2.5 years in, I could see it was really time for the 1 to 100. We had been able to take it to 10 million downloads, and really have a really powerful product that was like the leading app in the Muslim world. But I think that's where my excitement often is in that phase of helping brands and businesses go from 0 to 1. And so I think Allah knows that about me. And so we saw the success very quickly. I think like in our first month, Freshly Grounded anyway. So if you're talking about Freshly Grounded, which was February 2017, in the first month, we hit number 1 in iTunes. At the time, there wasn't a podcast app. It was called the iTunes Podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we hit number 1 in our category. And for me, that was like, okay, we have something here. Yeah.
Allahumma barak. No, I mean, I was, as I just asked my question, I said, wait, hold on. You're asking the question to the guy who was approaching marriage. And like, as you were describing the story to me, like the kid in me moment got so like lit up and happy when he said, oh, and I just, you know, added these couple more things in the cart. You know, extra stuff, right? That's it, right? I mean, for me, like when I started my journey, it was the Blue Yeti mic.
Yeah.
That's it. And everything is over. خلاص.
Yeah.
Audacity Blue Yeti mic. خلاص.
Yes. Yeah.
And I didn't go full on صراحة يعني.
No, but that's great. And actually, like in hindsight, now you don't need anything, right? Like even an iPhone.
Yeah, with
mic is
Adobe
enough.
podcast,
Yeah,
AI and stuff.
yeah.
I mean, like it can just enhance everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it saved me from in one episode, as a matter of fact.
But isn't there something about that Blue Yeti, like looking at it and it just feels official, right? It feels great. Like, because everybody at the time, the guys who were doing well, they would have a Blue Yeti or the equivalent.
Sheikh, I bought it because it looked good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if I'm going to be very honest,
But sometimes that's enough because you need to be your own supporter. And if that is the thing that's going to give you that psychological edge, then get it. Right? I do that all the time. Like, you know, if something's just because of a look, but psychologically it helps, then do it.
oh my God, you just described a moment for me.
Okay.
There was a moment that I actually had recently, and I thought it was a rash decision. I bought I bought there was a Shure mic that I saw. It looked nice, Shure M7 Plus.
Yeah.
The one that has like the lights around it. and
Yeah,
everything,
I've seen
right?
that,
Yeah. Now, honestly, I always wanted to have the Shure SM7B.
So first of all, I'm always happy to geek out with you on tech, especially podcast tech, and
Good.
I'm with you on the SM7B. I've always wanted it, and when we launched Freshly Grounded this time around with funding, and we were like, we're gonna do it properly. I was getting the SM7B. I was like, the one thing we're doing is getting the SM7B.
Good.
But I just couldn't justify the price, man. I was like, forget it.
Neither could I.
Yeah.
And like, and I'm not like my production studio, Sharifico Productions, is but it's not even my living room. It's like a small part of the living room where my wife is okay with temporarily storing my stuff up until I have to hide them because they're not aesthetically pleasing. But I mean, even then, of course, I mean the dreams are there, right? And it feels I feel at home because a dreamer is talking to a dreamer and a traveler is talking to a traveler.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I really couldn't justify the price either of the SM7B. Are you kidding me? But the M7
is nice,
looked fine.
Nice.
But when I recorded that first episode with that mic, I felt something.
That's important because life's a game of inches. 100%. That stuff.
So now I understand. It's about like something can give you the psychological edge.
Yes.
To like up your performance.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to content creation. And subhanAllah, there's one thing that I wanted to touch on. Because the reason, subhanAllah, and by the way, again, Allahumma barik lak. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put blessings and barakah in your wealth, in your health, in your family, and in your path to success, ya Rabb, Allahumma ameen. I love rhetorics. I love speaking.
What's rhetorics?
No, rhetorics.
Rhetorics. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm a language barrier. I apologize.
No, it's not language. It's just, I suppose that's my bad. Sorry.
No, it's completely fine. We just made up a new term. That's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
That happens nowhere else except in the Freshly Grounded.
Yeah. It might be that your way of saying it is the correct way. Like for someone who's a podcast, I'm so bad with someone who loves words. I'm like quite bad with.
I've always heard people say rhetorical ability. So you know what? I stand corrected. Barakah.
Yeah,
this is where I'm going to flex my Arabic.
Yeah. Okay.
Al-balagha. Is important, sir.
Yes.
No, so I love that.
Yeah.
Why? Because ever since, like as a kid, I would actually I'm so sorry. Again, Faisal, I'm in your I'm in your house, in your as in like the studio. Subhanallah, the guest needs to have adab, So I apologize if this is transgressing the limits of adab, but I'm a transparent person, so I'm gonna say it. When I was a kid, Habibi, I used to like sometimes cringe in khutbah.
Okay.
Sweden. Be it Swedish translation or the way a khutbah is presented, I would do that sometimes because there was always something off. Like I don't know why. There was something I was fixed on. Like, why is this said in this way? And like has nothing to do with the content.
Sure.
Nothing to do with that. Ibrahim was a kid. Ibrahim was still learning. Ibrahim was still going through Barakah. What does Ibrahim know? It's not about the Islamic side of things. Abadan. It's about just how something is presented.
Sorry.
Which is why I absolutely love to talk about showmanship.
Okay.
And there's always one thing that I've dreamed of, because like when I was in high school,
Showmanship is my favorite topic of all time.
I can see,
Yeah.
and I hope to hear more about it. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, I feel like I'm lacking in this. Like,
You're not.
No, really.
You're exuberating showmanship.
I'm
brother.
happy to hear that.
We could all take lessons from you in showmanship.
Allahu Akbar, keep it coming, please. No, but you know why, subhanAllah? But the reason why I'm going on so many tangents, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm enjoying it.
The reason why is I feel that this is a frowned upon subject for some reason, because many conflate it with kibr, and it's like, no, why?
Yeah.
You know, in many a times, Sahaba Radwanullahi ta'ala alayhim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the perfect community, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Archetypes, characters, you know, characters in a story. You have Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who upholds and has that one archetype, and Umar ibn al-Khattab supporting in another, and Uthman ibn Affan, another archetype, and Khalid ibn al-Walid, wa Ali ibn Abi Talib, wa Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, wa Talha wa Zubair, ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim jami'an. Many of them befit the role of the showman.
Of course. Being a great speaker, being eloquent, knowing, when to turn it up, when to turn it down. And there's, so many things that we can think about. I believe it was Umar ibn Khattab who said that you should be like a child when you're at home with your wife and your kids, right? And so, like, this is the example of like knowing when to be a showman. No, being a showman is about knowing. It's about really what it is emotional intelligence and wisdom, and knowing when to be what. When you're and it's about having a tool set in your arsenal of, for example, being a great speaker, and being able to lead, and having confidence, and then also knowing when to have humility. This is all, what we would say showmanship. Knowing how to present things and stuff, right?
Has that always been your thing?
I think it's been important to me because I think I like the way things are presented, and I guess it has. If I think back to like childhood and stuff, then I think of, I remember being like 5 years old and being in a room with all my family and like dancing and singing in the middle of the room, and loving seeing everybody be happy and knowing that I was able to provide that happiness.
Yeah.
Or, being in public speaking competitions as a kid in school and things like that. So those ingredients tell me that potentially it was something that I was interested in or passionate about. I don't always like display it in the best way, but that doesn't matter. I think what's important is knowing that that thing is important and seeing it in others and things like that.
And I have so many questions. طيب. Okay. Let me try to... Okay. How am I going to ask this? I'll try this way. طيب, okay, I understand the role it plays.
Mm-hmm.
I also understand the importance of it, because I think it is a sign of excellence.
Agreed, yeah.
And just like we find in among other collections, the 40 Nawawi collection, where there's a hadith relating to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام إن الله كتب الإحسان على كل شيء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed excellence on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And the best excellence is what? Worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as though you see Him, and even though you don't see Him, verily He sees you.
Sahih.
Like the second hadith and narration that is also mentioned in the 40 Nawawi collection. So I definitely think it's a sign of excellence. And I think that we as Muslims need to strive for excellence in every single thing that we do. And I also think we misunderstand excellence. I think so. I think the reason why is because we hear the term excellent or excellence more often than not related to something that is executed flawlessly and appearing nice and has this outwards appearance.
Sure.
Like, for example, I listened to this excellent episode the other day in this excellent podcast. And then when I send you that link and you're going to see this production, and of course, like, because we're, as human beings, I mean, we're simple, limited, tangible beings. We were going to link it more so to the apparent and the external skeletal structure, and not so much necessarily the content. It's always the content that is the best. I'm going to be perfectly candid with you, Akhi Faisal. The best ever episode that I have ever listened to, the one that has been executed excellently, is an episode in a podcast that is known as Bidun Waraq, Arabic podcast, where one guest, Dr. Naif, talked about the Quranic compass, Al-Bawsala Al-Qur'aniyya. The reason why it is excellent is purely the content. Hearing and listening to this episode changed the way I see the Quran, changed the way I understand the Quran. I have been, alhamdulillah, ya Rabbi fadlillah wa bi rahmatihi, and with the efforts of my parents, yani, I've been a hafiz of the Quran for 16 years. And after 16 years, this is the first time I understand the Quran in a different way. So excellence, I think, can also be your path to that execution. And I think, and the reason why this is very important for me, subhanAllah, is because the thing that stopped me from building that one brand, as if it means something in the grand scheme of things, let's be honest with ourselves, right? But still, I mean, like, the one thing that stopped me from taking on so many journeys is my misunderstanding of excellence.
Wow.
So, can we go back to 2018, metaphorically?
Yep.
What would you say to that person?
2018 being, so like the start of FG.
No, that person who is, like stopping themselves because of their misunderstanding of excellence. Like you today, you see that person. There are people today that do that, let's be honest.
Yeah.
What would you tell these people?
I think what I would just tell them is that how you do anything is how you do everything. So you have to take care of the small things, because I kind of don't like using this quote because the fact that it comes from a movie, but it's just so powerful for me, which is why I said earlier, which is that life is a game of inches. And I haven't actually seen the movie, which is hilarious. I've just seen like the motivational talk bit.
Which movie is it?
It's from a movie called Any Given Sunday, and it's Al Pacino giving this speech. He's like
Oh, wow.
he's like the coach of a football team, and I don't know if it's a true story or not, but he's giving the halftime speech or something like this. And again, I've never seen the movie. I don't recommend anyone to watch it, but I do think that the saying stuck with me, and it was like this: what I just said about how you do anything, it should be how you do everything. And but what he says in it is that life is a game of inches, and I think that's so true, because it's like if you do everything with excellence, those small inches add up to becoming like your next big move or whatever. And so we should look at life like that.
Yeah.
It really, life is the long game, and I'm not great at always looking at long term solutions and thinking long term. But one thing that I think benefits me long term is that I try my best, and we're all flawed, to try and do even the small things well if I can. That doesn't mean I'm a perfectionist. I'm actually the opposite of a perfectionist. A Freshly Guided wouldn't be here today if I was a perfectionist. We've released episodes with unmastered audio and bent video. We still do, and that's because it's important to me that we get things out. So I don't want to confuse, like you said, excellence with perfection.
Yeah.
But I think excellence is more of a mindset. It's more like how you approach things and how you think of things and how you do things, as opposed to how they are received or what the outcome is.
Okay.
I think for me.
So.
Oh no, he's got up. Okay.
And he's back.
Yeah, I thought you had to get prop or something.
Oh, freshly grounded. The Barakah blueprint is not there yet, but the Barakah blueprint definitely has some things to be inspired by.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, I definitely have ideas, and many of them are inspired by the freshly grounded. I just didn't have the courage to take them yet.
Amazing. No, take them.
So, I'm looking forward to that. So, apologies. I don't know what is happening to my voice, but you know what? Let's just keep rolling.
Let's roll with
Because
it.
we said we're not going to be perfectionists, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But okay. Faisal, I have, as an observer and as a curious person, sometimes, curiosity can play to my disadvantage, or I perceive that to be the case. But like, it doesn't stop the curiosity, because this dude is always going to be curious.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves, right? So out of curiosity, I mean, like, and just I love when I love something, when I love a project, I don't just want to consume it in its intended way. Like, for example, Freshly Grounded, right, is a podcast. You tune in, you listen to the episodes, you watch the episodes. So I mean, I because I love Freshly Grounded, and it's a project and a show and a family and an ecosystem and a media production studio and all of the other things you can add to it, that is near and dear for me, because I mean, it helped me through many difficult times. And I mean, even subhanallah, if there are people that are listening to this, by the way, from my time that I was more active in 2018 in Sweden, Kompetenspodden, a Swedish podcast,
Okay.
competence podcast, or like the skill podcast. Literally the first episode, I think it's still there. It was a Swedish podcast again. So I said, and I still remember, I told the co-founder and co-host, I told him, listen, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I'm sitting with this huge bias. Like, I have a bias, like a very strong bias. And my bias is like, I want to replicate Freshly Grounded.
Wow.
I want to have the Swedish Freshly Grounded. I don't care.
Yeah, man, that'd
if
be
people
cool.
are going to see through that. Yani. And the thing that stopped it, unfortunately, was my lack of consistency. But you know what? It helps people, subhanAllah. Wallahi, we had people donating to the Yani. Wallahi, sending donations and stuff. Yani. It said this helped me through a difficult conversation. Or this helped me when I was dealing with this bad situation. So again, I want to stress on the fact that, I know we said no praising Yani. طب خلاص, there's this podcast that I know. I don't know, maybe you heard of it. FG. It's near and dear to me, subhanAllah. So I try to assess and dissect and understand the values. There's one value or one pillar. There are actually three pillars that I want to touch on. First one is transparency.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm trying to learn from. So that's why, like, I usually say in my episodes, I say, this podcast is an experiment. Everything is an experiment. Everything that I present, the content, is just an experiment. And I'm the test subject. I'm the main test subject. I want to conduct an experiment, from lessons that I have learned, or from areas that I'm, trying to learn from, or journeys that I'm, embarking on. Maybe they'll work. Maybe they'll fail. And being the test subject, I want the audience to learn from this. If I'm going to be very honest with you, many a times I find that difficult. I find like a tremendous difficulty of balancing transparency, performance, and just making up this huge mixture of content. How do you do it?
Transparency.
Yes, sir. And like without affecting the other artifacts of this pyramid or structure, whatever we want to call it.
I think, like you, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and so there's a naturalness to just being someone who talks, someone who I don't know how to do, be somebody else or something, and something freeing about being yourself. And so my natural personality is is like to just be open, and sometimes that can work to my disadvantage. But I think that the one place it works to my advantage is that, you know, Freshly Rounded's on our website. I don't know if it's still there. I think it is. Like the headline said, content that you relate to. And if you're relatable, by default, you have to be transparent, right? Otherwise, how people can't relate to somebody that they don't know. And so I kind of like was like, well, people are just gonna get all of me. Like we said to you earlier when you were filming your vlog, I said I'm more comfortable around cameras than I am around people. I've been around cameras all my life, right? Because I chose to pick one up when I was 12 years old or whatever. So I think transparency is like the only way to have sustainability. Is like, okay, look, this is who I am. Like I'm flawed. There's pros, there's cons, but like you'll get all of me, and it's I think just like a natural thing. I would say though about transparency that, like I said, it can work to your disadvantage, and I actually admire people who are able to kind of keep a level of like decorum, which I think sometimes I struggle with. But I have one story about this idea of it being like somewhat natural to me. So when I was in university, I had a Vauxhall Astra, and I was in a shopping centre, and the main shopping centre in Cardiff is called St David's.
Okay.
Or in Welsh, it's called Dewi Sant. And
Okay.
I don't know if I pronounced it well. And so, like most shopping centres or malls, you know, when you're going into the car park and it's like swirly. Like
Yeah.
I was going down there and I just like, and it's so close, you just always feel like you're going to scrape your car. Oh, you see those marks and you think, oh my gosh, there's people who have scraped their cars along here. And one time that was me. So I was like driving through and I like scraped my car like massively, and just huge scratch on like the front left of my car. Now I'm not someone who's like super into cars. So I guess like it didn't like upset me or ruin my day, but it was a bit annoying, I guess. Like, but the thing that was more scary for me was like, I was just like, I didn't want to upset my dad, because if my dad saw it, I wouldn't want him to like feel like I'm like, I don't know, like being like
Careless,
with the car or whatever. And so what I had said to myself foolishly was, right, like I'm not gonna tell my dad about this, and even if my dad sees it, like
what was this here?
Yeah, like I'll find some kind of like way to not tell him what happened, right? And so, and I was like certain on this, like, right, I'm gonna stay firm. And then I came out from uni one weekend, I parked my car, and then I went out with my dad, went out in his car. And so then when he came home to drop me home, he looked at the side, he looked at my car, and he was like, what happened? And I went, I was in a car park and I was driving and I scratched the whole car. Yeah, I was like, it's like, I can't do it. I just like spilled it out. So that's just me, man. Like I just can't, you can ask my wife, like I can't hide my emotions. And my brother says to me it's a huge disadvantage as well, like as in advantage and disadvantage. But I remember my brother and my sister as well saying to me like that, you know, when you walk into a room, you can either light the whole room up with your energy, or you can bring the whole room down because everyone can tell that you're like stressed. And there was like, you need to be conscious of that, because you can, so it has its advantages and disadvantages.
You know, this serves as a great segue to another value, another pillar that I wanted to touch on. And again, not praising people. We gave a promise, يعني شنو we have to. لا. طب I know this guy.
Okay.
Alhamdulillah, ya Rab, there's something that I really respect about this brother, and it's the fact that he يعني presents يعني, so that we can keep the brother calm, يعني adab. No, seriously, like man, I really can't keep this up. Habibi, there's one thing that I love about your content. The fact that you're emphasizing a lot on adab. I think it's not being talked about often, and I think it's a big problem.
I don't do it because I feel like I have the adab. So just as a
no problem. No, I'm
but I do see the importance of adab, and I think that we heavily look past it, ignore it. We don't prioritize it.
100%.
And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was it came down to talk character.
إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق.
A character is something that weighs heavily on the scales, and I think it's a real shame. It's a real shame that we don't focus on adab. I don't have the perfect adab, but I do see its importance, and I've seen its benefits when either I have, on an off chance, been able to carry good character in a certain situation, or, which is much more common, I've been on the receiving end of somebody else's good character, and I've been the beneficiary of it a lot.
You know, subhanAllah, I mean, it can make or break one's day. It can make or break a partnership. It can make or break a friendship. It can make or break so many aspects of life.
Yeah.
And subhanAllah, sometimes the best da'wah is your akhlaq. Sometimes the best calling to Islam, and because especially tying this into the next phase.
Yeah.
And my first project was an Islamic podcast called Sanningen inifrån, The Truth Within, because I felt that, and I'm getting to the link here, but of course, as a podcaster, you have to go tangents, yani, and go around like this. Everyone tells me you never get to the point, so I'm very sorry, Faisal. So I see you in 2 hours, inshallah. Anyway,
I'm like you, so don't worry.
Amazing, yes. So I started the podcast, Sanningen inifrån, Truth Within, in Swedish. Why? Because I felt that the da'wah content and explaining the objective truth of Islam and the truth within, and the fact that this is the fitrah, and I didn't see fitrah content that much in English even, let alone Swedish. So I said, okay. And the one thing that I see is that whenever I refer, people say, oh, well, I've seen this amazing video that explains this amazing concept, or I think this is going to help us in our da'wah journey. I've been doing street da'wah for a very long time back then. So I emphasized the importance of upskilling du'at in terms of sitting with this arsenal of knowledge, or to the very least that we're able to defend our religion and to be able to explain it without compromising on its values. So I keep sending people content and they keep telling me, oh, but it's in English. So I remember I was pissed and I was like, okay, you know what, fine. I have notes, I'll just translate them and I'll just sit and record with my Blue Yeti. And I focused on one thing only. Theory. Knowledge. Why did I stutter? Anyway, so the point is, I guess what I'm trying to say, Ustad, is the one thing that I keep thinking about is, why didn't I focus on adab? Because I think this was the problem. The main problem was not the lack of knowledge. That wasn't the main problem. The main problem wasn't that we didn't have good enough arguments to rebut certain critics. Sure, that can always be upskilled. But one thing that was very difficult to change was the composition of character.
Well, the problem is that a lot of that starts at incredibly young age, right? Like, it comes from the parents, and so if we can even just improve the generation of parents and our own adab, then maybe we can teach our children that, right? Because like a lot of the personality traits that we have, they get ingrained in you from when you're a child. I remember a story about when, again, I was before 6 years old, and the reason a lot of my stories I tell are either pre or post 6, and that's because we moved house at 6 when I was 6, and so if it's in the old house, then I know I was between the ages of 0 and 6.
Okay.
And so this was in the old house, so I don't know how old I was, but I was not as the oldest I could have possibly have been was 6.
Okay.
You have to forgive me, I've got a stuffy nose.
Yeah, it's completely fine. I have a stuffy throat, so I mean, hey, nice.
So growing up in this house, we had a really difficult neighbor. She was, she would just cause us a lot of hassle. She's very horrible. She's an old woman, and she would be rude to us when we lived in the house. She'd be rude to my mum. And I remember she would throw stones at our window. One time she broke our window, and that was so we were living in a 2-bedroom flat on the ground floor. My mum and dad had one room, and then me, my brother, and my sister all shared the other room. And but our room was facing, the street, and so she She broke our window with stones
لا حول ولا
and stuff
قوة
like
إلا
that.
بالله.
She's a real horrible person to us at the time. And then I remember one day, after years of just dealing with, difficulty from her, we saw a stretcher come and take her in an ambulance, and she had passed away. And the next time we were I remember being in the living room, and like I said, I was about maybe 4 or 5 years old, and my mum was leading us in Jamaat, in prayer. And after the prayer, she said, "Guys, make sure you make dua for that woman who just passed away."
لا
And
إله
I
إلا
remember
الله.
thinking to myself, like, she's caused us hell, for all my life, basically. And because I was only so young, I still remember thinking this even at that age. Yet my mum has, like, as soon as she passed away, my mum's asked us to make dua for her. And that is something that those memories are memories that you don't forget, but they're memories that's what shapes adab and character, right? That's something that I now to this day, like, will try and instill in my children. In fact, like, my children will ask questions like that, right? Like about people or things. And I try and give them that lesson of, like, being good to people.
Then let's talk about family in that case,
Yeah, I could talk about family all day long, man.
because this is where, this is where it all starts, right?
Yeah.
The building blocks of our brand, of who Faisal is, who is Ibrahim, who is Sulaiman, who is Abdul Rahman, who is Ishaq, who is, anyone really. There's one thing, subhanallah, and I remember one of the episodes that I was rewinding a lot, subhanallah, is your episode with raising humans.
Yeah.
I was rewinding it left, right,
Really?
and center. It's because the thing is, subhanallah, look, I'm a kid myself, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't destined for me to have kids yet. And
May Allah grant you pious, healthy children, akhi.
Ya Rab, Ameen Ajma'een, Ameen Ajma'een. And one thing, because like I keep sitting and saying, you know what, I need to take this opportunity to learn, and like just ask all the questions I have. And like one thing that really scares me is, I don't want to end up in a situation where I provide a net negative impact to society, because
Right.
at the end of the day, your children, your project,
Yes, your investment, yeah.
yeah, it's your investment. It can be an asset or a liability.
Yeah.
First of all, I can't afford to be a liability myself,
Yeah.
let alone produce liabilities,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a problem, right? So I guess, again, that's why I started listening to Raising Humans a lot. And one of the podcasts I absolutely love, Allahumma barak. And your episode in it was one I kept rewinding a lot. So again, I'll stick to only one of the reasons, yani, and that one reason is because I loved the interaction between the two of you.
Okay. Yeah, Muhammad's a great guy.
Muhammad is a fantastic guy, Allahumma barak. May Allah bless him and his family, ya Rabbi.
I mean,
And you guys talked about, like, not only the, like, for example, the methodology of upbringing, and you actually even changed my mind when it comes to a certain topic, which is about bringing your kids to the masjid.
okay.
Because I actually fought with people about this topic in Sweden.
Okay.
Came to that point because, like, I was genuinely upset on how some people could react very violently to when certain noises being heard, and I would always say, but the hearing the laughs and the screams of children is a blessing, because that means they're being brought up in the house of Allah, Up until I started thinking about, well, hold on a second. Is this a net positive or a net negative impact on the community? That is like, when you said that, it was like, changed everything, subhanAllah. But that's one of the things. The main topic that I wanted to get to was, and it's one thing, Allahumma barak, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَلَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ هُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَى. Do not praise one another, for very Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows which one of you is God-fearing. But one thing I really need to give credit to you, subhanAllah, is how much you talk about family, how much you talk about like the proximity and closeness of hearts, like how close your hearts are to one another, especially with your brother, and especially how you praise your parents. May Allah bless your entire family, ya Rab.
I mean.
So, I guess the question I have for you, and this is mainly again for selfish reasons, I want to learn this. Because you also, Allahumma barik, talk about your kids, you're the family that you're building, Allahumma barik. Bro, how do you build a family that ultimately provides, let's start simple, net positive impact on the ummah?
Okay, I have to start this by saying that. So, for context, I have 3 boys, and so that in itself is a whole thing. I have 3 boys who are 6, 4, and 1, and so naturally, being in that I'm just constantly on camera. A big part of my messaging online has ended up navigating towards my journey of raising them, and I'm very passionate about raising them and trying to raise them in the right way. But in so doing, because I am the public facing one, I don't want to give the wrong impression, and so we have to speak about my wife, and it's very important because though I am the public facing one, and though I speak a lot about raising my kids, it would be impossible for me to be able to instill the morals and ethics that I want to instill in my children if it wasn't for my wife doing all of the heavy lifting. So
Allahu
I
Akbar.
get to come in and do the bits that are important to me, which are these morals and ethics and stuff like that. While actually the real person who's doing all of the work so that I could just come in and sprinkle this salt on top is actually my wife.
Allahu Akbar.
And I see her every single day, so sometimes like completely drained at the end of the day, because we have a 1-year-old who has allergies to milk and is like trying to like navigate between how to like make sure that he's well, and then a 6-year-old who's like discovering life now and asking these really difficult questions and really passionate and about his coloring pens remaining his, and a 4-year-old who's flipping off the sofa onto the 1-year-old. Like, so it's like, and she's the one who's I'm here at work, and when I come home sometimes work naturally ends up sometimes spilling over, and I try to segregate my time well, and I think for the most part I do a good job at it. But there's no doubt that from 5 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock at night, 95% of the effort is by my wife, and she's an amazing mom, like an amazing mom. She will sit with them and she'll get feedback from the teachers that they need to improve their reading, and then all of a sudden you could just hear her, I can hear her just reading with the kids and making sure, or like there's challenges, like my 4-year-old doesn't love going to school, and she'll sit with him and she'll get through it with him. Why don't you like going to school? And she's patient with the 1-year-old who's just attached to her by, I would say by the hip, but he's not toward us, by the ankle. He's like just like ankle. And yet she still does such an incredible job, and no matter how difficult the day is for her, the children are always fed, the packed lunches are always made, they're always given love and attention, they're taken out. When I have a meeting or something like that and I'm at home, no matter, even if she's drained, she'll take all 3 of them, right, we're going to the park, we're going for a walk, and you never hear her complain. So 95% of the work is done by her. And then I can then sprinkle in what's important to me, which is I want them to be raised with these morals, these ethics, I want this to be important to them. I want them to be like have these important traits, and that's just the salt of all of her hard work that I get to add, and then I get to claim all of it on social media and be like, this is how I'm raising my kids, but actually it's her. So that is, I know I went a bit long there, but it's really important that I mention that, because I don't say that enough. Now, to answer your actual question, which is,
I love this, by the way. Thank you for. And now I'm comfortable in my element, by the way. Perfect.
Yeah. The question was, what was the question?
No problem. The question was, and I actually think you answered it very, very well.
Okay.
I'm more than happy if you keep elaborating on it, of course. But the question was, how do you raise a household that's ends up giving a net positive impact on the Muslim ummah?
Okay, so I am passionate about this, and I think the answer is that it is you have to have a real importance on really strong morals, ethics, habits, and character traits in your kids, right? And so you have to be stern on these. I am a kid with my kids. However, I'm incredibly stern on the things that are important. And those things that are important, other parents may feel that are not that important. But I think they're incredibly important. I'm strong on them. And so they could be things like, I don't know, man, like words, like, not saying bad words, not saying rude words, not lying. That's a really big one. Like, I'd rather you tell me the truth. You'd get in more trouble. You'll get in less trouble for telling the truth and that being wrong than you would for lying. And
especially if you scratch your car.
Yes, but look at my dad's reaction to that. Like, he didn't even I wasn't scared of his reaction. I just didn't want to let him down, and that's so. I don't think I overreact with my kids, but it's the truth. The truth is very important. Things like that, like, my son, he started saying wallah a lot, my 6-year-old, because he's in school, right? And so he's like, wallah, you're gonna cut my hair today? And like, by the way, I cut my kid's hair, which is why their haircuts are always awful. And I said to him, exactly, don't say wallah for everything. You're saying Allah's name. You don't use just everything you say about Allah, subhanallah. And he's like, is it wrong? I'm like, no, it's not wrong, right? It's like, but you don't need to just use it so loosely. So these things are important to me. How they, answering back to their mom, answering back to their dad. You can't do that. Just answering back in general, things like that. Like, so I think morals, ethics, the Quran has a very strong placeholder in our house, and it's important, and we emphasize its importance. Somebody says alhamdulillah, there should be some, the other, so that's so funny. The other day, my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old, they have a bunk bed, and we sent them to bed. They go to bed. By the way, routine as well, like a net positive, like family, how to create it. Like, first of all, you have to have sanity, and sanity comes from routine. My kids are in a routine so that me and my wife can have a sanity, so we can have an evening. We're not up till 1 o'clock in the morning with our kids, so we're not losing it. That's so important.
Can you explain sanity? Sorry, what do you mean by sanity?
Just like for us to be able to be the best parents, we ourselves need a break. We need to have our mental health, and to have that break, the kids need to be in a routine. My kids do not run the household. They don't. We are their parents. They are not ours. If they're not going to be up till 1 a.m., it's not an option.
Subhanallah.
Right. But let me just go back to the funny thing. Right. So, we sent them to bed, and then we thought they were asleep, and then we just heard Khalil. We were downstairs. We heard Khalil going, Zaku, and that's what he called Zakaria, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Zaku, and Zakaria is not answering, and then he kept doing it. At one point, like, his mum shouts upstairs. She's like, Khalil, like, what's going on? She's like, he goes, Zaku's not answering me. And she's like, yeah, he's probably asleep. What do you need? And he goes, I sneezed and said alhamdulillah, and he's not saying yarhamakallah.
Legend.
And so my wife was like, from downstairs, yarhamakallah, I've said it, okay? Like, he's like, okay. But like this, the fact that it's so important to him, that makes me proud, right? Because like I've instilled the importance of these things. Sometimes it works to your disadvantage. Like, I remember he went outside yesterday, Khalil again. I took him to the masjid 2 days ago for Maghrib. He wanted to come with me, and so we were going to Maghrib, and we go, as soon as we leave the house, he looks outside and he goes, Abu. I goes, yeah. He goes, so is the shaitan here? Like, right now? Like, I didn't even tell him that, by the way. Like, I do not believe in teaching your children about shaitan like this early. But my father-in-law, may Allah bless him, has this way where he just like how he speaks to adults is how he speaks to kids. And so he's taught them all about the shaitan, right? And so like they obviously learned that the shaitan is out at Maghrib time. So he's like, so is the shaitan here? I'm like,
Right now.
yeah, I'm like, Khalil, you do not need to worry about that. Just like get on the scooter. Yeah, but it's but like these things are like the fact that they speak about these things is nice, like right. It's like they're not secret, like they're not swearing and stuff. Yeah,
Allahumma barik. May Allah bless your family. Ya Rabbi.
I mean,
MashaAllah, tabarak ar-Rahman. Choosing your teammates, installing routines,
Yep.
and understanding the core values.
yeah. By the way, another thing I want to praise my wife on is that I have very strong values that I want to instill in my children, and it can be overbearing sometimes, and I know that. And sometimes she might even not necessarily disagree, but at least be like, okay, like you don't, it might not be that it might be like a bit much sometimes. Yet she, she'll back me. And I think like that, and I see that, and that's important to me, and I notice that.
Subhanallah.
And so then that also makes me not take it for granted, which means I don't overdo it. I will turn it down where I can turn it down. I will let them slide with things that maybe aren't that important, because on the things that really matter to me, she will back it and she will defend it. For example, teaching them Quran from an early age. My wife, of course, bro, is not against the Quran in any way, shape, or form.
Of course.
But like, if I'm teaching, if at 3 years old or 4 years old, I'm already trying to get them to memorize something, this is not something that they need to be doing at that age, or at 4 or 5 or whatever. And I don't need to be so intense with it. And but even now, even though that's not something that she she's allowed me to take lead on that, but even if that's something like sometimes like let them be kids, right? Like, but still, if like my son goes to her and he's like trying to revise his Quran or something, she will sit and she will revise with him, and she'll read to him, and she'll read with him, and she'll like so it's still that thing of okay, like maybe for her it's like maybe I would have started them at 6 and not 5.
Naam,
right?
naam, naam.
But if he's coming to me at 5 or 4 and he's saying to me, like she'll give them that time, and she'll do that with them. So I see how much she backs everything, and I think that's important as well, because you have to be like that as a team as parents, because parenting is two people who have been raised in different ways coming together to raise kids. So you have your own set of morals and ethics, and so you have to you have different morals and ethics and the ways that you want to raise kids, and so you have to find a balance between the two, and that's important. And she does a really good job at doing that.
And also different methodologies.
Yeah, completely different methodologies. Yeah.
Subhanallah, and even the Arabs, they say what they say: بين كسب القلوب وكسر القلوب خط رفيع اسمه الأسلوب. Between winning the hearts and breaking the hearts is a very thin line that is called method, manner.
Yeah, manners. Yeah.
And subhanallah, it's like they asked this sheikh, what's the hukum on the person who doesn't pray? What is which, as in like the person who raised the question, it feels as if like, okay, which box do I put them in?
Right.
And the sheikh, being so clever, Allahumma barik, says the hukum, and the ruling is to take him to the masjid.
Yeah.
Or for example, when the Arabs, especially of olden age, especially looking back at the time of the Sahaba, they are exemplary in that. They asked Al-Abbas radiallahu anhu ardah, who is older, you or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now the word older in Arabic usually is referred to as akbar. Man al-akbar. Translating it literally means who has the greater age. But the word akbar, who is greater also.
Yeah.
Al-Abbas answered very beautifully. He said, هو أكبر مني وأنا ولدت قبله. He is akbar, greater than me, but I was born before him.
Wow.
You know? And I think manner and methodology is also very important, especially when, teammates are coming together to this very interesting and I think the most important project.
Yes.
Family.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, it's not negotiable to have. I mean, again, like this is, as an outsider looking in, not somebody with experience, just thinking out of whatever sanity comes across, right? I mean, it makes perfect sense that even if there would be a disagreement in methodology, at the end of the day, the two of you are the authority. Two of you are the government, because the government shouldn't be shaky in front of the civilians, right? So, all I can say, subhanAllah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you, bless your wife, bless your children, bless your families, ya Rabb, mashallah, Barakah Rahman. And I know we're running out of time. I actually went way over the time, and I really, really do apologize. So I want to ask for your permission for one thing.
Yes.
Would it be possible to end with rapid fire questions?
Of course. Yes.
Fantastic. This
Let's
is
do it.
amazing.
I don't know how good I'll be at, let's try.
Let's be very honest with ourselves. Podcaster to podcaster.
Yeah.
Of course, we're not going to be straightforward. Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
yeah. It's not gonna be
We're not going to be straightforward. I mean, like,
I'll try.
You're going to tell me about that one time in Manchester where
I'm going to end up telling you more
happened,
stories,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. By the way, and I would love that. And I'll piggyback right on that as well.
All right, let's see how we do.
Let's see how we do. Okay. طيب. Ya salam. Should we start simple? No. Why should we start simple?
No.
It's a freshly grounded.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So, what's your favorite freshly grounded episode of all time? Boom. Who am I gonna let down? He's thinking now. Who do I?
It's so many, bro. Like it's so hard to say. Like, oh man.
People learn how political
answers.
answers.
It depends on the context. But okay, I'll try my best. There's an episode I did with Onali and Kareem in our old studio where we were ordering like food and just talking, and it was just nice to just talk to the brothers, talk to my two best friends.
Did you pick up the food like in the middle of the recording?
Yeah, literally
I remember the episode. Yeah.
So that episode I think is like generic. If you make me choose one, then I'll say that one.
Actually, this is one of the more wholesome episodes because I think you broke a misconception of mine when I listened to that episode.
That you can't eat on camera.
Sorry?
That you can't eat on camera?
No, wallah, eat away. I mean, like, as in, like, bro, it was so transparent. It was so honest. Like, you guys went, let the guy in and stuff. Like, that's why, like, for example, I saw the episode the other day where, like, everybody entered in. It's like, in this entire family. Our brother Sulaiman, may Allah bless him, was there, and then your brother Omar comes in, just suddenly takes a chair, I was like,
I love that, yeah.
This is so
They're
amazing.
trying to get me to stop doing that. Yeah, I love that as well. Yeah, they're saying like, let's just like have everything perfect and then press record. I'm like, no, like just get it on and just let people come and sit down. I've got a battle to fight with these guys for that. Yeah, we're gone. Okay, so that's that episode. Yeah.
Okay, good. Ooh, okay. Besides the Barakah blueprint, of course, one guest that you really want to have in the podcast.
It changes all the time. Right now, I would say I don't think about this much. Oh, right now I want to get Bilal Asad.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. What a collab that would be. Ya salam.
Bilal Asad, yeah.
Subhanallah. Okay. You take notes, of course, صح?
Sorry?
You take notes وشغلات يعني, like you record and document and everything. You're a note-taking person, I'm assuming.
Not really.
Really? Oh, then that question is not going to make sense.
No, ask it.
Okay, خلاص. طيب, Sheikh, listen. Notion, Apple Notes, physical notebook or something else. What do you choose?
Apple Notes.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, I'm really in the Apple ecosystem, yeah. Apple Notes, Apple Reminders, Apple Calendar. I don't even use Google Calendar, Apple Calendar.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. I respect that. Are you a planner or an improviser? I think I know the answer. Okay. Yeah, salam. Okay. This is a useless question. We know the answer to it. Of course, he's going to record the early shift soon. Why should I ask him, are you a morning person or a night owl? It's not called the late shift, ya Jama'ah. It's called the early shift. Tune into the early shift. 7 a.m. UK time and 11 a.m. GST.
Yeah.
طيب, okay. What is the most overrated advice in podcasting?
Overrated?
Yes, sir.
Ooh, that's a good question. The most overrated advice is something. It has to be something to do with money. Basically, any advice to do with money, even though, like, I guess we have done that as well. But and I'll tell you the reason why is because a lot of advice is about money, but really, ultimately, our rizq is in the hands of Allah. So there's not enough emphasis on reliance upon Allah.
What is one thing every podcaster should stop doing?
Saying I do that all the time. I'm like So yeah.
Yeah, I actually, as a person who occasionally says the I actually agree with you. I have to stop myself so many times, by the way. That's so annoying, man. But what is one thing every podcaster should start doing? I'm going to say start saying, sorry, go ahead.
I think every podcaster should start trying to get stories out of their guests, because I like what you did there, and I think you're right. Like, people do love stories, and I don't know why I don't emphasize more asking my guests to come with stories or asking them to tell stories, because anytime I write a speech for a public speaking gig, I always start it with a story because I know how important stories are. So I think that's what every podcaster should do.
I mean, the storytelling framework is very, very impactful.
Yeah.
It can move people.
Yeah.
People are attracted to brands that tell an interesting story.
Yes.
People are drawn to stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Best story is the story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us. نحن نقص عليك أحسن القصص. We've given you the best stories. So yeah, no, I love storytelling. But thank you for the advice. This is something I actually learned this
from you.
Well, thank you. Yes, let's pretend this is from me. Okay, good, nice. I was going to ask you, I actually prepared this question and I was like looking forward to ask it, but you answered it so well. I was going to ask you, what is one creative risk that you took that really paid off? I wonder.
Yeah, probably FG. But there's been lots, right? Like, I think like risk is a really important. Risk is really important. You have to take a lot of risks and all the time, and they do pay off. They do pay off.
What would you tell Faisal in 2016?
Have better spending habits. I'm still trying to improve with that.
Hook and sink.
Yeah,
the guy
my
got
relationship with money is not good.
Takes one to know one. Okay.
Still haven't figured that one out.
You know what?
I don't even like luxury. Like, I drive a Mitsubishi. I have these. You see these tracksuit bottoms?
Yes.
I have 2 of this exact one.
Legend.
And then I have 2 more of this in a different color. And then I have, my point is, in total, like Gymshark tracksuit bottoms, I have about like, I think it's like 11. So my point is that I don't like, I just wear like the same, mainly I wear the same clothes. I drive a Mitsubishi. I have the same pair of socks, but just loads of the same one.
Yeah.
I'm not a trainer guy, so I don't spend a lot of money on trainers. In fact, my last few trainers were all gifted to me. So it's not like luxury, but it's like my perception of finances could be better. Like, I could be a better saver and more like, I could be more frugal, which I'm not. So it's not extravagance, but it's just like bad habits.
But you don't need that, you know, because he's got the paddle skills to pay the bills.
No, I don't. I make 0 money from paddle.
Yeah, but the skills pay the bills.
I wish they did.
Allahumma barik.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's good. That's Suleiman's voice as well.
Yeah, no, of course. Wait, is it Suleiman's voice?
That one is Suleiman's voice, yeah.
Legend.
Yeah,
legend. MashaAllah, Tabarak ar-Rahman.
You'll be interviewing him soon on the Barakah Briefing, I'll tell you that much.
110%.
He's the next star of FG.
He is of course. Yeah. Of course. That I was going to ask Sulaiman subhanAllah. Yeah. I had one comment about Sulaiman subhanAllah that I said something that I don't like about this content, which is I don't see more of it. I want to see more of Sulaiman.
Yeah. You know, you'll be seeing more of Sulaiman.
Alhamdulillah, I'm looking forward to it.
We're just warming him up.
Allahumma barik, mashallah. May Allah bless our brother and his family and his path to success, ya Rab, and all of us, ya Rab. But what is the funniest freshly grounded moment?
Funniest freshly grounded moment. Man, I don't have these things off the top of my dome, but
Man, your intro was the most iconic, by the way. Might I add?
okay, thank you. Yeah, I think like any time I get with Sam,
Yeah.
it's just like for me so much fun. Yeah. And Sam, by the way, like still loves FG audience,
course.
talks about it all the time. And so anytime we get an opportunity to record together, we do. I'm actually going to London soon, so maybe try and get an episode in. But yeah, like anything with Sam is just so funny, man. And Kaya's sense of humor is so aligned with mine. Like I can't be with Kaya for more than 90 seconds without laughing. He just...
Kaya's a legend. I love spending time with Kaya.
His humor is so particular, but it's just perfectly in tune with mine.
Yes,
like we're thinking the exact same thing.
I see the synergy is unreal.
Yeah, like Alon he's just such great humor, man, and I miss him, man. Like a lot. Like this week he's been sick, and so when I just need to be around him like a little bit, just so I just get that dose of that, and then like I'm good. But like I haven't had it this week, so it's a bit annoying.
Now, subhanAllah, I have a confession to make. I told my friend, I said, "Hey, bro, I'm gonna meet. When I was invited to paddle, man, I was so excited. I remember I was calling my family, I was calling my friends. I was like, guys. I was like, there was that one friend in Sweden. I thought, bro, guess what? He's like, what? And I didn't even know if he knew Freshly Grounded. I was like, hey, I'm gonna meet the guys for Freshly Grounded. He's like, what? Allahumma barik. You mean Kaya? I swear to you, I was like, so Kaya's not gonna be there. But okay.
He's co-host, yeah.
Kaya's a legend, mashallah. Now, may Allah bless him and his family, subhanAllah.
You know what I love about Kaya is, what I really love about Kaya is that he is open and honest about his own faults and so sincere about them, like how we all should be, because everyone is flawed. I'm not saying that he has faults, but he himself is always the first person to say it.
I agree.
Which is what I find amazing. Yet, he has the gold standard when it comes to ethics and morals. Allah. Because he is so conscious of making sure he's truthful, so conscious of making sure that what he's saying or doing is right by Allah. Like when I brought him aboard an FG, I was like, look, there's certain things that we try and do. Like we try our best to make sure we're not lying, we're not joking when lying, we try not to cause a fitna. And there's enough fitan, in the Muslim scene. We don't want to create more. We're not really controversial. All of these things, he was just aligned with every single one. And, that's what I love about Kai, because I'll tell you what you can't get in life is perfect people. And so the next best thing I think we want is people who are transparent, constantly trying to prove themselves, have the gold standard for ethics and morals, and will police themselves before you police them. Like, so, they will be like, oh man, that like I'm like that this thing I struggle with. This thing like every week, right? He does football on like Thursdays.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
Friday,
and Sundays as well.
Yeah, every Fridays he comes to the office. He's like, guys, man, I'm just so flawed. Like I just let my temper get to me, man. And it's like it's so endearing to see that he himself is holding himself to account.
Kaya says that.
Yeah.
Kaya?
Yeah.
Bro, I played with Kaya football.
Oh, really?
No, he does not have that at all.
He's harsh on himself, which is actually commendable. Yeah.
Kaya is actually, bro, look, it takes a lot of patience to be my teammate. I'm horrible at football.
Oh, really?
And he usually is my teammate. And the guy, subhanAllah, has to do the work of like 5 people.
He'll be happy to hear that.
I've never heard him angry.
Oh, I don't think you played football with Kaya enough.
I have played football with Kaya a couple of times, yani.
No, he'll be grateful to hear that.
What was the most emotional guest moment you had in the Freshly Grounded?
It was when we had Sunny Araf on the podcast first time, and he was talking about the death of his 5-year-old daughter.
La ilaha illallah.
And that was really emotional.
What is one moment in your life that humbled you?
One moment. I get humbled on a daily. One moment in my life that really humbled me. It was a conversation I had with Ustad Yahya Rabi. I was sat in the car and I was speaking to him, and I was just saying to him like, the negative comments online were getting to me at that point. like because when you put yourself out there online, you have to accept that you're going to get positive comments and negative comments.
No.
Nobody's free from it. And at the time, I felt like the negative comments were like hurting me.
Okay.
And so I spoke to him, and he humbled me, and he said, even Allah hasn't stopped people from talking bad about him. They say that he has a son, which is one of the,
La
you know.
ilaha illallah.
And he said, if Allah hasn't stopped that about himself, and he's in control of all things, then who are me and you? And I thought, subhanAllah, this is true. This is just part of life. So,
What is one pivotal moment that changed your direction?
getting married, but for the
Allahu
better.
Akbar.
It changed me for the better because I thought that what I thought that what I wanted in a or what I wanted in a wife was somebody who is like an extreme extrovert because I'm an extreme extrovert.
Uh-huh.
But Allah knew that what I needed was someone who's gonna bring me back to reality, and someone who is big on privacy, and someone who is very well moraled and stuff like this, and someone who doesn't talk about others. And because you and I are naturally talkers, right? We could talk for days.
Yes, we can.
If we're put in an environment where somebody encourages that and lights the wrong fire, we could find ourselves talking about, all of a sudden gossiping, talking about people and things like
Yes.
that. And so who's closer to you than anyways? Your spouse, right?
Yes.
Someone that you go home to them. Right? So imagine if I had a spouse who was like the type of person who just loves a gossip, no matter how strong my man is, I could go home and then we're chilling at night time. It's like, oh, this person did this person did. And our personality, we would love it. We would be like, oh, and then what? And then we love telling stories.
Yeah.
And so what Allah gave me in marriage was reality, discipline. I feel like I want to I was doing at the time around or before I was married, I was also being a bit silly on camera all the time. And I think that's part of my personality. And I think that's okay to an extent, but I think also being married made me realize that I want to protect my wife's honor as well. And, people around her obviously know that her husband is who her husband is. And so I don't want her to go to a gathering or something where she feels like a bit embarrassed because he just did a video where he was, I don't know, had like painted his hair green or something. Like I would do anything really, like, because I'm just so comfortable with the camera or whatever, right? But it's like, I still do silly things. On yesterday's live stream, I like arose from underneath the desk.
That was legendary, by the way. That was legendary.
So I think she allows me to be silly, right? Like I think she's given up on the idea I'm going to be completely
That's good.
like.
Otherwise, the clip with Moeen Ali with you and Sam wouldn't have happened. But that one, back then.
Yeah, but also,
I loved it, by the way.
Also, it changes the direction of my life in the sense that I do try and think like, okay, like let me have some Izzah. Let me try and have some Izzah.
Akid.
So yeah.
Faisal, what is your Barakah blueprint?
My Barakah blueprint is in and of itself constantly trying to think about Barakah and trying to think, what is the thing that pleases Allah in this thing? And that will bring about Barakah. I love that you called your podcast the Barakah Blueprint, because the blueprint is Barakah. I've said previously, and I'll say it again, is that we try and think of what is the right way to do this, what is the right way to do that, what's the right formula for this, what's the right algorithm for this. But the best algorithm, the best formula is the formula that Allah has given us, the algorithm that Allah has given us. And that is the formula of Barakah, the algorithm of Barakah. If we just follow that, we'll be fine. So that means that sometimes an opportunity seems really great, but there's haram in it, and you don't understand why. But the Barakah blueprint is to leave that thing and not do it. And I guarantee something else will come around. I had a moment like that recently where something happened where I had to make a decision with the wrong thing or the right thing. Actually, it wasn't even the wrong thing or the right thing. It was like the better thing to do, or to like claim your what you want, like what you desire. And it would have been, both options were halal, by the way, but it was like either do this or like have better character. And I chose the latter, which I don't always do, but I chose latter. And like that day, the opportunity that I missed by choosing the latter, Allah gave me that exact same opportunity in another way. And that's the Barakah blueprint, bro. That's choosing the right thing. And Allah's like, you chose the right thing? Don't worry, I'm going to give it to you anyway. That literally happened to me 2 days ago. And those reminders just like increase your iman.
Faisal, thank you so much for this amazing, meaningful conversation. Educational for me, and I believe fully educational for the audience. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and reward you immensely for the groundwork that you and your brother Umar subhanallah have put, and that allows for any people that are navigating this journey like myself to to find strength, to find comfort, and to have this guidance and inspiration that what, this I think I can do this. You've really inspired me, and you keep doing that, subhanallah.
No, you keep doing what you're doing as well, man. It's incredible to see.
Really appreciate that. May Allah bless you, ya tayyib.
Ameen.
Jazakallah
Barakallah
khairan.
feek.
Thank you,
Assalamu
habibi. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.